For Mona, honestly, look, let me tell y'all something. For Mona, and for any character, and I swear this is gonna be my next video, but let me just explain it right now, okay? Let me explain it right now. Like, the thing about endgame damage and all that is, let me take an example for Mona. Yo, Rodell, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. So for Mona, like, I use her for Vaporize, right? So for me, the biggest thing is I need to find the biggest balance between Vaporize percentage, crit rate, crit damage, and of course hydro damage bonus, right? So because it's all about having access, it's all about how consistent you can do your crit damage, right? That's what big damage is all about. So one thing that I want to add really quick about having the balance of all these stats and why crit damage is probably one of the most important things in a game that you have access to consistently. So I'm going to try to give you just a brief summary of how damage works without going into super boring detail of the math. But if you definitely want a more detailed explanation of how damage works, definitely let me know in the comments and I can make a video like that if you want. So basically, it all starts off with your character's attack, right? That's why I say you have to have a balance of all of these because they all stack on top of each other. You can't have only one stat carrying you because it all depends on the foundation of where the damage is coming from. So for example, your character's attack, the white attack AC, and your attributes. That gets multiplied times your skill percent. Whether it's a normal attack that's like 50 something percent like for Mona, or a charge attack that's like 225% for Mona right now. Then after that, it gets multiplied times 1 plus whatever damage bonus you have. For me, for Mona, it's hydro damage bonus, okay? And then, and this is the big part of how you can get good damage towards endgame. This all depends if you hit the crit rate. If your crit rate, if you hit that crit damage, then it gets multiplied by 1 plus the crit damage percent. So if you saw earlier, mine, Mona's is 147%. So that means 1 plus 1.47. So my damage is going to get multiplied by 2.47. That's like that's like times 2.5 basically, which is how your characters are going to get a lot of damage at the end. And then the special thing about Mona is that she's a hydro character, so she can have access to Vaporize, and Vaporize is going to multiply whatever damage I put out times 2. And then additionally, because of your elemental mastery, it's going to get multiplied by an additional 1 plus whatever Vaporize percent it has. For my Mona is 55%, which is basically my damage after it gets multiplied by 2 is going to get multiplied by another 1.55 basically. Which is why these hydro characters that have access to Vaporize can put out big burst damage. Or even pyro characters can put out this big damage because instead of Vaporize, they have access to melt, which works the same way. Which is why Vaporize and melt are one of the biggest elemental reactions in the game. If you don't have a pyro or a hydro character as your main DPS, well then that's why I'm telling you crit damage is very important, and how consistently you can hit that crit damage, because that is ultimately what's going to scale off your damage. But remember, you can't just put everything into crit damage, because if you don't have a good foundation of attack, then there's no point, right? So you can't really leave out attack, because if you don't have a strong enough foundation, then there's no point. Your attack can be crappy. It doesn't matter if it's multiplied by 1.47%. Like, it's not going to scale off a lot because your foundation of attack was not there to begin with. You need all of this to be balanced in order for you to optimize your character to its full potential, which is why you need to cater your whatever artifacts you have to create the biggest balance between these main stats. Now let's go back to what I was saying on stream. So for Mona, I'm super lucky to have freaking gotten this artifact for her, this crit damage, because honestly, in my opinion, I think the best artifact for you to have as your circlet is crit damage. That's the best freaking circlet to have. Because look at this. Look how I have 16.3%. Yes, I'm lucky. Yes, I know. It rolls into crit rate every single time. The only thing that did not make this artifact perfect was the fact that it did not start with crit rate. When I got this helmet, it only had energy recharge, elemental mastery, and HP. When I leveled it to level 4, it finally got crit rate. And then after that, at level 8, level 12, level 16, level 20, it upgraded the crit rate stat. I'm getting 16.3%. A 5-star circlet for crit rate is only 31.1%. Literally, this helmet for me, it's more than half of this helmet right here. So basically this helmet right here counts as like a 5-star helmet and a half, because I'm already getting half the value a 5-star crit rate circlet would give me, along without sacrificing any crit damage. So now before I used the Skyward Atlas, I was using the Solar Pearl because my crit rate was terrible. Like I didn't have other artifacts that gave me crit rate, because that's what I was lacking a lot in my stats, right? I think if I remember correctly, this used to be my, oh, I already got rid of it. Oh, Caroline Walker, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I had a way worse pocket watch. I already got rid of it though. Let's just say I had this, okay? And then I think my old feather was this one. Yeah, this was my old feather. And then this was my old flower. So I wanted crit rate. So my crit rate was a 65%, but only because I wanted as much access as I can with crit damage. And it was okay for those of you that have been following me for a while. Remember the Solar Pearl days? I talked about Solar Pearl days like it was only like 2 weeks ago. We were doing pretty good with the Solar Pearl. We had good access to crit rate, okay, but our attack was off, right? Our vaporize lowered, right? Our vaporize wasn't that well. I mean, it's still good, right? But then once we had access to Skyward Atlas, we were able to change this piece to Elemental Mastery, because when you switch to Elemental Mastery, let's just pretend this was attack percent. When we switch to Elemental Mastery, you're sacrificing attack percent. And this artifact is super good. I'm lucky because it comes with at least a little bit of attack percent. And that's where the Skyward Atlas can come in, compensate for that. Because the Skyward Atlas is attack percent. So the thing about weapons is, the thing you got to think about is, you got to think of your weapon as a 6th artifact. Okay? So, because I have a 6th artifact with attack percent, I can comfortably put this Elemental Mastery so I can increase my vaporized damage without decreasing my attack percent. Okay? And so then the whole struggle with me that we finally overcame with this flower was our crit rate. You know, I got this flower, super good flower. It increased my crit rate 12.4%. And then this one, even though this flower looks worse than this one, the fact that we get more Elemental Mastery, the fact that we get a little bit better crit rate, and then we can finally complete the set bonus of attack percent. This is what makes our build overall good for Mona. Whether she's doing a normal attack, whether she's doing her E, whether she's doing her burst, whether she's doing a vaporize damage. Because I found, like, to me, with my artifacts, this is the most perfect balance that I could achieve with Mona. With vaporize, crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, and hydro damage bonus. So for you, whatever artifacts you have available for your favorite character, doesn't have to necessarily be Mona. Your favorite character, you just gotta find the biggest balance between crit rate, crit damage, and then whatever damage bonus you need, whether it's pyro, hydro, electro, or even physical. That's what you have to do with your artifacts. There's no cookie cutter way like, hey, do this. And yes, I know, in a perfect world, if I had these substats on, like, you know, maybe if I had these substats on a freaking Heart of Death, right? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I can't read those characters, but thank you for the follow. If I had these substats, like these substats for a Heart of Death, if I had these substats, well, if I kept those, and I had these substats for maybe, you know, a Noblesse Oblige timepiece. If I had these stats for a Heart of Death, then yeah, for sure, that would be way better. Because overall, in my opinion, like in a perfect world, if you can get all these insane substats on Heart of Death and Noblesse Oblige, that would give you the best Mona build, in my opinion, right? But we don't live in a perfect world, so you gotta do what you can best do with your artifacts, okay? And remember, look at the substats. Yo, Drew, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Look at your substats and figure out if those substats are gonna give you more value than the set bonus. Because look, these substats do give me more value, but because this one has decent substats and it gives me the set bonus, this gives me more value than this flower. Okay, does that make sense? So that's how you should pick your artifacts for any character. And sometimes, you know, just focus on what your character does best and find the balance between that, right? Balance between crit rate, crit damage, and whatever you can. Think of your weapon as a 6 artifact. That's a TLDR, okay? Hope that made sense.